You know, when we think of ancient pharaohs, our minds usually jump to giant pyramids, golden masks, right? Well, today we're going in a totally different direction. We're cracking open a historical cold case, a real ancient mystery from the very beginning of Egyptian history. We're going to focus on a pharaoh whose legacy isn't really about what he built, but about what he seems to have erased. And that quote just nails it, doesn't it? In the long, long line of Egyptian rulers, some names just echo through history, but others are just whispers, tied to times of chaos and trouble. Our guy today, Anedjib, he falls squarely into that second camp, leaving behind this trail of evidence that brings up way more questions than answers. All right, so who was this guy, Anedjib? Well, he was the 5th pharaoh of Egypt's first dynasty. Now you gotta remember, this is super early on. The whole idea of Egypt as this big, unified kingdom was still brand new. It was kind of like a startup nation, still figuring things out. And smack dab in the middle of this really crucial formative time, you get this one reign that's just covered in question marks.
To really get Anedjib, you need to see where he slots into the timeline. The whole dynasty kicks off with the legendary Narmer, the guy who unites Egypt. Awesome. Then, a bit later, you get the Pharaoh Den, who has this long, super successful, stable reign. Everything's going great. Then comes Anedjib, and right after him, another pharaoh, Serekhs, whose reign was also a total mess. So his position, coming right after a golden age and right before more trouble, that's a huge clue.
And this is so important to understand. Anedjib didn't inherit a disaster. It's not like he was trying to put out fires everywhere. No, he inherited a kingdom from his predecessor, Den, who was, by all accounts, a really powerful and successful leader. Den had everything locked down. Power was consolidated, trade was booming. He pretty much wrote the playbook for how to be a great pharaoh. And that right there, that's the real puzzle. I mean, when you're handed the keys to a well-oiled machine, it should just keep on humming along, right? But with Anedjib, it didn't. Things went sideways and turmoil erupted. That tells you the problem probably wasn't with the kingdom. It was with the king. And this is where we get to put on our detective hats and look at the forensic evidence.
So you might be asking, how on earth do we know any of this from 5,000 years ago? Well, the story isn't written down on papyrus, it's literally carved in stone. Egyptologists have found this incredible pattern of things being deliberately changed during his reign. It's like an ancient version of photoshopping someone out of the official record.
Okay, before we dive into the actual clues, there's one key term you absolutely need to know, Nepli. It translates to the two lords. Now, this wasn't just some cool-sounding nickname. It was a hugely important royal title, a massive political statement that basically screamed, "I am the absolute ruler of a united Upper and Lower Egypt." And boom, here's our first piece of evidence. That Naboya title, it looks like it was actually created for and used exclusively by Den, Anedjib's super successful predecessor. But then all of a sudden, Anedjib starts using it for himself. That's really weird. It's not something you just do. It's like trying to wear someone else's Medal of Honor. It strongly suggests he was trying to borrow some of Den's authority and wrap himself in it. But wait, it gets even more blatant. Archaeologists have found a ton of artifacts. We're talking stone jars, official seals, big memorial stones, where you can physically see that the names have been tampered with. You can actually make out the faint outline of an older name that's been scraped away, with Anedjib's name carved right over the top. This was no accident. It was a full-on, systematic campaign to write someone else out of history and insert himself instead. And this just says it all, really. Think about it. If you're a ruler and your power is secure, you don't need to do stuff like this. Your legitimacy is obvious. Taking a chisel to history like this, it absolutely screams insecurity. So the crucial point here is that these alterations aren't signs of strength at all. They are the desperate acts of a ruler whose grip on power was fragile. Okay, so all of this evidence leads historians down two very different paths. Was Anedjib a ruthless usurper who flat out stole the throne? Or was he the legitimate heir, but so weak that he was forced into all these desperate measures just to defend his claim against his rivals? So let's look at these two theories side by side. Theory A is the usurper. This paints him as the bad guy. He aggressively seizes power that isn't his and then launches a whole propaganda campaign, stealing titles, erasing names, to basically create a fake history that says he belongs there. But then you have Theory B, the weak heir. This version is a bit more sympathetic. Maybe he was the rightful king, but he was up against serious opposition, maybe from other powerful families, and all these actions weren't a power grab, but a desperate defense to hold on to what was already his. And there's more circumstantial evidence that just adds to the mystery. For one, Anedjib's reign was pretty short, and the pharaoh who followed him, Serekhs, also had a really unstable time on the throne. What that suggests is that this whole political mess wasn't just a one-off problem with Anedjib. It was a much deeper crisis, a real fracture in the system that lasted beyond just one king, which lends a lot of weight to the idea of a major internal conflict. So, you might be thinking, okay, interesting story, but why should I care about this one obscure pharaoh from so long ago? Well, because this is so much bigger than just one guy's biography. Anedjib's troubled reign is basically one of the first political crises we have on record. It's like a foundational case study in the struggle for legitimacy and power. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, the verdict of history is pretty clear. Anedjib's story completely shatters the myth of a perfectly stable, divinely ordained monarchy right from day one. It reveals that the idea of absolute pharaonic power had cracks from the very beginning. And it shows us that political maneuvering, questions of legitimacy, and even state-sponsored propaganda, yeah, those things are as old as civilization itself. And that leaves us with one final, fascinating question to chew on. The great irony of all this is that the main reason we even remember Anedjib and his struggles today is because of all this evidence of tampering. His desperate actions are what make him so interesting. So it makes you wonder, if he hadn't tried so hard to rewrite the record, would he be remembered as a legitimate pharaoh? Or would his name have just been completely lost to the sands of time?